On this vote, the yeas are 0 and the nays are 414. The amendment is not adopted. The unfinished business is the request for recorded vote on amendment number 2, printed in House Report 112-423 by the gentleman from Missouri, Mr. Cleaver, on which further proceedings were postponed and on which the noes prevailed by voice vote. The clerk will redesignate the amendment.
Amendment number 2 in the nature of a substitute, printed in House Report number 112-423, offered by Mr. Cleaver of Missouri.
A recorded vote has been requested. Those in support of the request for recorded vote will rise and be counted. A sufficient number having risen, a recorded vote is ordered. Members will record their votes by electronic device. This will be a 5-minute vote.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Is indeed an American tragedy. Too often, this violent act that resulted in the murder of Trayvon Martin is repeated in the streets of our nation. I applaud the young people all across the land who are making a statement about hoodies, about the real hoodlums in this nation, particularly those who tread on our laws wearing official or quasi-official clothes. Racial profiling has to stop, Mr. Speaker. Just because someone wears a hoodie does not make them a hoodlum. The Bible teaches us, Mr. Speaker, in the book of Micah 6:6-8,
the member will suspend.
These words,
the member will
these words, he has shown you, O man,
the member will suspend.
Good,
the chair must remind members of Clause 5 of Rule 17. What does the Lord require of you?
But to do justly, and to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. And in the New Testament, Luke 4:18-20 teaches us these words. The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he has anointed me to proclaim the good news to the poor. He has sent me to proclaim freedom for the prisoners and the recovery of sight to the blind, to set the oppressed free. I urge all who hear these words to heed these lessons. May God bless Trayvon Martin's soul, his family.
The member is no longer recognized. The chair will ask the Sergeant-at-Arms to enforce the prohibition on decor. The chair must remind members that Clause 5 of Rule 17 prohibits the wearing of hats in the chamber when the House is in session. The chair finds that the donning of a hood is not consistent with this rule. Members need to remove their hoods or leave the floor.
The yeas are 107. The nays are 313. The amendment is not... What's it? On this vote, the yeas are 107, the nays are 314. The amendment is not adopted. The unfinished business is the request for recorded vote on amendment number 3, printed in House Report 112-423 by the gentleman from Tennessee, Mr. Cooper, on which further proceedings were postponed and on which the noes prevailed by voice vote. The clerk will redesignate the amendment.
Amendment number 3 in the nature of a substitute, printed in House Report number 112-423, offered by Mr. Cooper of Tennessee.
A recorded vote has been requested. Those in support of a recorded vote will rise and be counted. A sufficient number having risen, a recorded vote is ordered. Members will record their votes by electronic device. This will be a 5-minute vote. On this vote, the yeas are 38, the nays are 382, with 2 voting for answering present. The amendment is not adopted. For what purposes, gentlemen from Wisconsin seek recognition?
Mr. Chairman, I move that the committee do now rise.
The question is on the motion that the committee rise. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is adopted. Accordingly, the committee rises.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Speaker, the Committee of the Whole House on the State of the Union, having had under consideration House Concurrent Resolution 112, directs me to report that it has come to no resolutions thereon.
The Chair of the Committee of the Whole House of the State of the Union reports that the committee has had under consideration current Resolution 112 and has come to no resolution thereof. For what purpose does the gentleman from Florida rise?
Mr. Speaker, I send to the desk a privilege report from the Committee on Rules for filing under the rule.
The clerk will report the title.
Report to accompany House Resolution 600. Resolution providing for consideration of the bill H.R. 4281 to provide an extension of federal aid highway safety, motor carrier safety, transit, and other programs funded out of the Highway Trust Fund, pending enactment of a multi-year law reauthorizing such programs and for other purposes.
Referred to the House calendar and reported printed. Pursuant to House Resolution 597, House Rule 18, the clerk declares the House of the Committee of the Whole House of the State of the Union further consideration of House Concurrent Resolution 12. Will the gentleman from Kansas kindly retake the chair?
The House is in the Committee of the Whole House on the State of the Union for the further consideration of House Concurrent Resolution 112, which the clerk will report by title.
Concurrent resolution establishing the budget for the United States government for fiscal year 2013 and setting forth appropriate budgetary levels for fiscal years 2014 through 2022.
When the Committee of the Whole House rose earlier today, Amendment Number 3, printed in House Report 112-423, offered by the gentleman from Tennessee, Mr. Cooper, had been disposed of. The committee will come to order. It is now in order to consider Amendment Number 4, printed in House Report 112-423. For purposes, gentlemen from California seek recognition.
Mr. Speaker, I have an amendment in the nature of a substitute at the desk.
The clerk will designate the amendment.
Amendment number 4 in the nature of a substitute, printed in House Report number 112-423, offered by Mr. Honda of California.
The House is not in order.
Committee will come to order. Pursuant to House Resolution 597, the gentleman from California, Mr. Honda, and a member opposed, each will control 15 minutes. The chair now recognizes the gentleman from California.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this session of Congress represents a unique opportunity in history to accomplish something great, The pending sequester, the overwhelming number of tax provisions set to expire, and the threat of our growing debt must force us to make big decisions. Inaction is not an option. The amendment before us today is more than just a set of numbers. It's a pathway forward. It's a solution. The Progressive Caucus developed a solution by listening to what the American people want. They want shared responsibility and prosperity. They want us to protect the social safety network. They want us to basic fairness. They want fiscal sanity. That is exactly what this plan provides. First and foremost, we focus our attention where it is needed the most, job creation. This proposal is estimated to create 3.3 million jobs over the next 2 years because it uses every single tool in the federal government's arsenal. 1, direct and local hire programs. 2, targeted tax incentives. And 3, widespread domestic investments. Mr. Chairman, the House is not in order.
Gentleman's correct. Committee will come to order. Gentleman from California may continue.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Instead, the Republican budget relies on trickle-down voodoo economics that haven't worked before and won't work now. Projections show that the GOP plan would kill 4.1 million jobs in the next 2 years alone. Americans deserve proven solutions, a growing economy, and financial security for themselves and their loved ones. The Progressive Caucus is listening. We invest in America now and lay the foundation for a globally competitive future. We need to invest in human capital, education, first-class infrastructure, and cutting-edge technologies. This is the kind of thinking that built a successful economy in the past, and it is the real roadmap to prosperity.
Gentleman will suspend. Committee will come to order. Gentleman may continue.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Secondly, the Progressive Caucus believes that Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security are not up for negotiation. The Republican budget treats our seniors and working families like lab rats, subjecting these important programs to grand conservative experiments. What the budget for all proves is that we don't need to put these essential programs on the chopping block. Their assumptions are wrong and we can do better. As the primary author of the budget for all, I'm proud of the transparency of what we put before the American people. What we've released to the public and what we put online is very clear about the policies we stand for and those we oppose. Instead, the Republican budget focuses so much on what they don't like about the President's proposal that we are left with little details about how they feel they achieve their end goals. It is so scarce on details that the Washington Post referred to it as dangerous and intentionally vague. It claims lower taxes for all, but no real details on how to get there. It claims substantial deficit reduction, but assumes trillions in lost revenue will magically return. The Republican plan hides the real substance behind their proposals because that's the truly hard part of governing. Being honest with the American people isn't easy, but in these difficult times it's the very least that we can do. I urge my colleagues to support honest and responsible solutions. I urge a yes vote on this amendment. I reserve the balance of my time.
The gentleman from California, Mr. Tonto, reserves. Gentleman from California, Mr. McClintock, seeks recognition.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I claim time in opposition.
Gentleman's recognized for 15 minutes.
I'll yield myself 5 minutes. Mr. Chairman, I want to congratulate the Progressive Caucus on producing a budget that actually addresses our crushing deficit, unlike the President's budget. Their budget produces deficit numbers that are right in line with the House Budget Committee's path to prosperity. The difference between the two is that the Republican plan reduces the deficit by reorganizing our government services in a much more efficient and streamlined structure, saving trillions of dollars, while the Progressive Democrats would radically increase spending, supported by $6.8 trillion in new taxes over the next decade. Now, what does that mean in real numbers, $6.8 trillion? It comes to about $22,000 of taxes for every man, woman, and child in America, about $88,000 for a family of 4. Now, don't worry, we'll be told, we're not taxing working-class families, just rich people and corporations. Well, let's get a few things straight here. First, it turns out that many of the rich people aren't rich, and they aren't even people. They're small businesses filing under Subchapter S, the very same small businesses that we're depending upon to create 2/3 of the new jobs that Americans desperately need. Now, to whack small businesses with crushing new financial burdens and then expect them to create more jobs is simply absurd. Second, remember that ultimately businesses do not pay business taxes. Business taxes can only be paid in one of three ways. They're paid by consumers through higher prices. They're paid by employees through lower wages or no wages at all as jobs disappear. Or they're paid by investors, mainly pension plans, through lower earnings. That's the only three ways they can possibly be paid. Now let's talk about fairness. In 2008, the top 1% of taxpayers, folks earning about $344,000 per year, earned about 17% of all income and paid 37% of all income taxes. As a class, they are paying their fair share. But the progressives are right that some individuals within this class pay less than their fair share because of their disproportionate access to tax loopholes. The progressives rightly want to get rid of some of these loopholes, and that's a good thing. But at the same time, they want to increase loopholes for others. They don't mind government picking winners among their friends. They just want to do the picking. Well, the Republican plan calls for the ultimate elimination of these loopholes while lowering overall tax rates so that no American pays more than 1/3 of their earnings to the government. That is fairness. The underlying problem that's destroying our nation's finances can be summed up with three simple numbers: 35, 33, and 76. 35, 33, 76. Between 2002 and 2012, population and inflation combined grew 35%. Now, despite the recession and the recent tax cuts, federal revenues have grown 33% in the same period. Very, very close. The third number is what is killing our country. 76% is the increase in spending. Twice the rate of our revenues, twice the rate of inflation and population growth. And by the way, has anybody seen a 76% increase in the quality of our roads or our institutions or our law enforcement or our border security? We've paid for it. We're not getting it. And that's what's out of control about this administration. No nation has ever taxed and spent its way to prosperity, but many nations have taxed and spent their way to economic ruin and bankruptcy. And when we're told this is the worst recession since the Depression, I remember a time much more recently when we had not only double-digit unemployment, but double-digit inflation, mile-long lines around gas stations, interest rates at 21.5%. That was the end of the Carter administration. Now, maybe we don't remember those days as vividly. It's because they didn't last very long. We elected Ronald Reagan, whose policies were very different than the current administration. He cut spending as a percentage of GDP. He cut the top marginal income tax rate from 70% all the way down to 28%. He reduced the regulatory burdens crushing the economy, and he produced one of the most prolonged periods of economic expansion in our nation's history. This isn't a partisan policy. Warren Harding, Harry Truman, John F. Kennedy, and most recently Bill Clinton all followed similar policies with similar results. Phil Gramm recently estimated that if the economy today had tracked with the Reagan economy, 17 million more Americans would be working right now, and income would be $5,700 higher per person. We need to choose wisely, Mr. Chairman, here and at the polls in November.
The gentleman from California, Mr. McClintock, reserves. The gentleman from California, Mr. Honda, is recognized.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We'll allocate 2 minutes to the gentleman from Minnesota, Congressman Ellison.
Gentleman from Minnesota is recognized for 2 minutes.
Mr. Chairman, allow me to go right to the heart of the matter. We're talking about budgets and how our nation shall spend money over the course of years. What we're dealing with now is we're dealing with unemployment, and this budget is no decent budget at all unless it deals with jobs. Now, the budget for all, which is the Progressive Caucus budget, is all about jobs. We make investments in people, developing our workforce, developing education, and putting Americans back to work. America has work that needs to be done. We got about $2 trillion worth of crumbling infrastructure, which the Republicans don't invest in. America has jobs that need to be done. We got people that need to do them, and we have privileged Americans and corporations who have the money that if they were to give it in the way of taxes as the dues we pay to live in a civilized society, we could combine these three elements to put America back to work. Now, I'm proud to stand with the budget for all because it makes the priority of jobs the key thing, but it also invests in America's future and reduces the deficit. We're serious about that. I'd like to make sure that others are too and don't just say so. We got to put America back to work. The budget for all does that. We urge support for the budget for all. And I yield back.
The gentleman from Minnesota yields back. The gentleman from California, Mr. Honda, reserves. The gentleman from California, Mr. McClintock, is recognized.
Mr. Chairman, I am pleased to yield 2 minutes to the member from Indiana, member of the Budget Committee, Mr. Young.
The gentleman from Indiana is recognized for 2 minutes.
Mr. Chairman, as our national recession nears its 4th year, unemployment stays above 8%, and gas prices continue to skyrocket, our brave men and women continue to serve in harm's way overseas, this nation's in trouble. And I wonder, which of the following choices would Americans choose if they had to pick one? Would it be A, an across-the-board income tax increase? Would it be B, a new tax increase on gas, electricity, and natural gas? Would it be C, a cut in funding for our soldiers to levels that the Pentagon warns is dangerous to our national security? Now, I suspect, Mr. Speaker, that the American people, if given the choice, they'd prefer to have an option D, none of the above. But unfortunately, they're not given this choice in the Progressive Caucus budget. It forces instead all three unpalatable options on the American public that is already struggling. It raises taxes in every income tax bracket to the tune of $4.4 trillion. It raises the price at the pump and on utility bills ever higher by creating a new tax on all fossil fuel-based energy sources. And it makes no attempt to offset the impending defense spending sequester. Now, while I commend my colleagues, I do commend my colleagues for making the effort to develop solutions to our nation's problems and getting specific on those solutions, I think the American people can do better. House Republicans, we've given Americans that none-of-the-above option through our own budget. Our budget responsibly solves our nation's debt challenges, it responsibly cuts our spending, it avoids a tax increase, and it strengthens programs like Medicare and Medicaid, important to so many Americans. Most importantly, it does so by lightening the burden of government on hardworking American taxpayers, not burdening them with more government. I respect my colleagues and urge my colleagues, however, to vote against the Progressive Caucus budget. I yield back.
The gentleman from Indiana yields back. The gentleman from California, Mr. McClintock, reserves. The gentleman from California, Mr. Honda, is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Our next speaker will be the founder of the Progressive Caucus, the proud Congressman Woolsey.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, the budget for all...
recognized for 1 minute.
Excuse me. Mr. Chairman, the budget for all rearranges our national security spending priorities in a way that keeps America safe instead of keeping America bogged down in expensive, immoral wars. By bringing our troops home from Afghanistan, we save over $1 trillion over 10 years. We reinvest that money in the American people, their education, their health care, their infrastructure, their retirement security, their hopes and their dreams. And there's money left over to beef up smart security priorities, development, diplomacy, foreign and humanitarian aid, the tools that will truly combat terrorism and protect our nation in the 21st century. We get rid of ancient, obsolete Cold War weapon systems that are doing nothing to address today's security threats as well. We also take care of our veterans, and we dramatically reduce our nuclear arsenal. I urge all members, read this budget, embrace it, and because it truly reflects the values and priorities of the American people. The Congressional Progressive Caucus, Budget for All.
Gentlelady's time's expired. The gentleman from California, Mr. Honda, reserves. Gentleman from California, Mr. McClintock, is recognized.
Mr. Chairman, I'm pleased to yield 3 minutes to the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Flores.
Gentleman from Texas is recognized for 3 minutes.
I thank my colleague, Mr. McClintock. Mr. Chairman, the Progressive Caucus budget amendment creates devastating cuts to our nation's defense. Our federal government's primary responsibility under the Constitution is to provide for the common defense for the security of all Americans. This budget amendment causes the federal government to abdicate this important responsibility. This substitute amendment guts the Defense Department by calling for cuts that are $900 billion deeper than the nearly half a trillion dollars that the President already proposed to be cut from the defense plan that he proposed just 1 year ago. This substitute has no specific plan to replace the sequester, which Secretary of Defense Panetta said would cause catastrophic consequences and which would devastate our Department of Defense. This amendment ignores our constitutional responsibility and tells our troops in the field that regardless of where the mission is or in what state it is, that we're going to cut off funding. This comes despite the fact that U.S. commanders have made it clear that there will be a continued role for the U.S. in Afghanistan even after Afghan security forces assume lead responsibility for security. This budget amendment also ignores the economic impact that deep defense cuts will have on low and middle income Americans that work for the Department of Defense or work for suppliers to the Department of Defense. Our nation suffers from a growing number of low-income families and high levels of poverty. We also have more people on food stamps than ever before. This is not the time to cut spending on the one federal government function that is specifically called for in our Constitution. The American people, as you hear from the other side, are looking for fairness. Cutting defense funding, as our colleagues are trying to do here, is not fair to the economic and military security of this country. This proposed budget amendment, as well as the President's budget, which was soundly defeated a few minutes ago, are not fair for America. What is fair is to set forth a budget which improves the atmosphere for job creation and which stimulates economic growth by relying on Main Street American solutions. If the Progressive Caucus and the Obama budgets are looking for fairness, they should not be looking to cut the Department of Defense. I urge my colleagues to oppose this substitute amendment so that we can ensure the safety and security of the brave men and women serving our country and for the American workers who support them. In the alternative, I urge my colleagues to support the House Budget Committee's FY 2013 budget. It is the budget that will restore America's promise and prosperity and security for future generations. Thank you. I yield back.
Gentleman from Texas yields back. The gentleman from California, Mr. McClintock, reserves. The gentleman from California, Mr. Honda, is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Next, I'd like to call up a gentlelady from California. Gentlelady from where there's a there, Ms. Barbara Lee.
Thank you very much.
For how much time, Mr.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
For 1 minute, yes.
Gentlelady from California is recognized for 1 minute.
Well, let me first thank Congressman Honda, Congressman Grijalva, and Ellison, and all of the CPC members for their tireless effort on this budget. Congresswoman Woolsey, all of our members who really put so much time and effort into this. I'm proud to be a co-sponsor of the Budget for All because the American people must have an honest budget that does not blame the poor for the problems created by the super rich. The Tea Party Republican budget for the 1% does just that. Their budget only cuts programs for our seniors, our children, our nation's working poor and vulnerable, while giving away $4.4 trillion in tax cuts for the super rich. And for all of their heartless cuts that end Medicare, hurt our children, close schools, and fire police officers, they don't even come close to balancing the budget because they can't stop themselves from giving away trillions to the special interests, big oil, and the top 1%. I strongly believe that a budget is a moral document that shows our nation's priorities and values. Like the Congressional Black Caucus's budget, the Congressional Progressive Caucus budget is a moral budget. one that invests in the future of all Americans, and one that believes that our greatest days lie ahead. May I have an additional minute?
Allocate 15 seconds.
Generally is recognized for additional 15 seconds.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me just mention also in closing that our budget also ends this combat operation in Afghanistan. The American people want the war to end. We have decided that no more funding for combat operation. There's no military solution. We do provide the funds to protect our troops and contractors and to bring them home safely in an orderly fashion.
Gentlelady's time's expired. The gentleman from California, Mr. Honda, reserves. The gentleman from California, Mr. McClintock, is recognized.
Mr. Chairman, I'm pleased to yield 1.5 minutes to my friend and colleague from Oklahoma, Mr. Langford.
The gentleman from Oklahoma is recognized for 1.5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It is good to get a chance to have this debate that is unique on the House floor to be able to go through this. Obviously, we look forward to the day that the Senate has this same kind of dialogue back and forth on what are spending priorities in the budget. Now, well over 1,000 days the Senate has had any kind of conversation like this. It's terrific to be able to have this. There are some areas of this budget that I'd take a look at, and I would say I would completely concur with. This budget takes on things like the AMT fix, the alternative minimum tax, and tries to resolve that over time. I think that's a terrific idea, and we need to get a chance to move forward on that. But it does some things that I don't think many people in my district would be favorable for. Many people in my district look at the tax policy and say it's incredibly complicated and complex. This budget moves the tax system from 6 tiers to 10 tiers and dramatically increases the complexity of our tax code. It also changes the death tax to a 65% death tax. It puts the Uncle Sam squarely on the end of coffins, and as the grieving family is there, Uncle Sam is standing saying, "I'm waiting for my cut." I think that's the wrong way to go. There's a large carbon tax that's included with this. With gas prices going up, energy prices on the rise, I don't think this is a time to also increase the price of energy again in that. It also raises taxes, ironically enough, on McDonald's and on fast food places. To be able to punish them, I guess, for supplying food to people that are on the run. But it increases taxes on that. It also provides public funding for elections so that people that are running for office, like myself and others, will actually get public funding for that, which many people don't want to be a part of. It does also provide state flexibility, though, but it's state flexibility for a new system of health care oversight. We'd like to see it have state flexibility for things like Medicare and Medicaid and such. So with that, I would oppose this and would support the House Republican budget. With that, I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. The gentleman from California, Mr. McClintock, reserves. Gentleman from California, Mr. Honda.
Yes, sir. This next speaker hails from Southern California. The gentlewoman is true.
For how much?
For 1 minute.
Gentlelady from California is recognized for 1 minute.
This budget is about fairness, where everyone, not just a special few, can succeed. While the Republican budget ends the Medicare guarantee, the budget for all makes no cuts to Medicare, Medicaid, or Social Security. While their budget slashes Pell Grants, leaving 1 million students struggling, the budget for all actually increases investments in education. While their budget destroys 4.1 million jobs in just 2 years, the budget for all actually puts 2 million more people back to work by investing in infrastructure. The Republicans do all this to keep tax breaks for big oil and provide an extra $150,000 for millionaires. The budget for all creates a fairer system by asking those who benefit most from our economy to pay a sensible share. The budget for all ensures everyone can achieve the American dream if they just work hard and play by the rules.
Gentlelady yields back. The gentleman from California, Mr. Honda, reserves. Gentleman from California, Mr. McClintock.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, we have no more speakers. I'll reserve time until the
gentleman from California, Mr. McClintock, reserves. Gentleman from California, Mr. Honda.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to call upon the gentlelady from Maryland to speak for a minute and 20 seconds.
Gentlelady from Maryland is recognized for 1 minute and 20 seconds.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Budgets are about priorities, and the budget for all sets priorities for the American people. It's about creating jobs and opportunity, investing in education, investing in our infrastructure, investing in our future. The budget for all, the Progressive Caucus budget, also makes significant investments in our military that actually prepare our defense forces for the 21st century. The budget for all is about priorities. And make no mistake, the Republican budget sets completely completely different priorities. It says to our seniors, we want you to pay more out of your pocket for Medicare, destroys Medicare as we know it, creates a system that's not fair where young people who want to go to college won't be able to do that because there won't be Pell Grants available for them. The Republican budget says to you that if you actually want to work hard and play by the rules, that you're not going to be treated fairly. It's time for us to have a budget that reflects the priorities of the American people, that makes investments in the American people, and the budget for all makes those investments. And I urge my colleagues to read the budget for all, and support the budget for all, the Progressive Caucus budget that makes important investments in the American people and does not destroy Medicare as we know it. With that, I yield.
The gentlelady yields back. The gentleman from California, Mr. McClintock, continues to reserve. The gentleman from California, Mr. McClintock, has 3.5 minutes remaining. The gentleman from California, Mr. Honda, has 6 minutes remaining. Gentleman from California, Mr. Honda, is recognized.
Yes, I'd like to have the gentlelady from Texas, Sheila Jackson Lee, speak for 1 minute and 20 seconds.
The gentlelady from Texas is recognized for 1 minute and 20 seconds.
I thank the gentleman from California for his leadership, along with Congressman Grijalva and Ellison. I rise to support the Congressional Progressive Caucus budget, and I announce today that the Republican budget, according to the Economic Policy Institute, is a job killer. 1.3 million jobs will be lost in 2013, 2.8 million jobs will be lost in 2014, and 4.1 million jobs will be lost in 2014. It will also, in essence, defund the Affordable Care Act, which will eliminate access to health care for many women, dealing with reproductive health, dealing with essential health benefits, also coverage of family planning services. It will cut $1.7 trillion from Medicaid, but the budget for all will provide a direct opportunity for School Improvement Corps, the Park Improvement Corps, and Student Job Corps, creating jobs. It will save TRICARE and personnel. The CPC budget doesn't impact personnel, wages, and benefits and pensions for our soldiers, but it ends the war in Afghanistan and Iraq and saves money in doing so. It extends the Earned Income Tax Credit and the Child Independent Care Credit. Responsibly and expeditiously ends all of our military presence, but more importantly, it creates an atmosphere for economic improvement and development by providing jobs to our young people, stopping the taking away the lifeline of Medicaid. Support the budget for all. Support the Congressional Progressive Caucus budget. I yield back.
Thank you. Gentlelady yields back. Gentleman from California, Mr. McClintock, reserved. Gentleman from California, Mr.
Yes, the gentlelady from California, the songstress, Congresswoman Laura Richardson.
For how much time, please?
For 1 minute, 15 seconds.
Gentlelady from California is recognized for 1 minute and 20 seconds.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today in strong support of the Progressive Caucus alternative budget. This budget, as a member on the Transportation Committee, would help us to be able to create, once and for all, the infrastructure bank that we've desperately needed that would allow us to attract private and public partnerships. The progressive budget would also outline a plan to put over 2 million individuals back to work, and my colleague just before me highlighted what some of those would be. Some of them would include the improvement courts for public school rehabilitation projects, park improvement courts for young adults, and student job courts, one of which I was able to take advantage of as a young individual. Mr. Speaker, the CPC budget will assist us to be able to responsibly act, to reduce our budget deficit, but to also maintain our domestic priorities. This budget is the right budget. It will protect our fragile recovery, and it will invest in our future. I reserve the balance of my time.
Gentlelady yields back the balance of her time. Gentleman from California, Mr. Honda, is recognized.
Thank you. To the gentleman from Michigan, I'd like to allocate a minute and a half.
Thank you.
Gentleman's recognized for a minute and a half.
Thank you very much, Mr. Honda. Tonight, I want to commend my friends on the other side of the aisle, starting with Mr. Tom McClintock of California and those who are with him this evening, because what has happened is that we have begun to see that between the leaders in the Progressive Caucus and those who can't possibly vote for the Progressive Caucus bill are still finding things that we can agree on. For example, is there anybody on the leader of the other side of the aisle whose group does not believe that we should invest in our children's education by increasing education, training, and social services? We all agree on that. Is there anybody on the other side of the aisle, Mr. Speaker, who doesn't believe that our budget makes no cuts to Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security benefits? These are beginnings of agreements. We all on both sides agree that we must responsibly and expeditiously end our military presence in Iraq and Afghanistan, and I congratulate the member leading the other side.
The gentleman yields back. The gentleman from California, Mr. Honda, is recognized.
How much time do we have remaining?
The gentleman from California, Mr. Honda, has 2 minutes and 2¼ minutes remaining. 2¼ minutes.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to offer the rest of the time to our closer, the gentleman from Arizona, the great Grijalva.
Gentleman from Arizona is recognized for 2¼ minutes.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and let me thank Mr. Honda for his yeoman work on the budget. You know, the Republican majority is asking the American people to once more accept the premise that a trickle-down theory of economics is the path to solvency, balanced budget, and fiscal responsibility. Well, this trickle-down theory is promoted. All it has done is created a dry opportunity for the middle class in this country. Unemployment is up, and it has increased the number of poor and unemployed in this country. And this kind of insecurity has led us to the situation that we're in. Our budget, the progressive budget, Budget for All, reintroduces something fundamental to the American people, its values and its moral imperatives that has made us a great nation. Our budget is about fairness in burden and fairness in all. There should be no privileged group that receives the 40 to 50% of the benefit from the tax cuts. That money is needed in this society, and our budget asks for shared burden and shared responsibility. We create jobs. We front-load jobs in this. We are about fiscal responsibility, reducing the deficit, and balancing the budget. And we, more importantly than anything else, invest in the American people. We invest in our people, our greatest resource. We save and promote Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid from the destructive plan that's being promoted by the Republican majority. This Budget for All by the Progressive Caucus, that we are providing the American people and this Congress with a choice and a contrast. Do we repeat the mistakes of the past and pass a budget as being recommended by the Republicans that take us down the same destructive economic path that we've been on? Or do we go in a direction that promotes equity, fairness, fiscal responsibility, and more importantly, puts the American people back to work and offers their families the opportunities that we all have been able to benefit? The Progressive Caucus is a budget of choice, a budget of fairness, and above all, returns us to our values as an America. Thank you very much, and I yield back.
The gentleman's time's expired. The gentleman from California, Mr. McClintock, is recognized.
Mr. Chairman, I think the reason these times are so impassioned is because we've arrived at a moment when two very different visions of society are competing for our nation's future, and they're very much reflected in the budgets put forward by the two parties in this House. America's prosperity and greatness spring from uniquely American principles of individual freedom, personal responsibility, and constitutionally limited government. America's founders created a voluntary society where people are free to make their own choices, enjoy the fruit of their own labors, take responsibility for their own decisions, and lead their own lives with a minimum of government interference and intrusion. When someone needs help, we freely give that help, but we ask in return that they make the effort to support themselves to the extent that they can. Our government views no one person or group as more or less worthy than any other. We are Americans. We'll be judged on our own merits, and we'll make our own choices, including what kind of car we'll drive, what kind of toilets we'll have in our homes, how we'll raise our children, what kind of light bulbs we prefer, what we'll have for dinner tonight. Today, a very different vision competes for our future, that of a compulsory society where our individual rights are subordinated to the mandates of government bureaucrats, where innocent taxpayers are forced to bail out the bad decisions of others, and where consumers are compelled to purchase the products or underwrite the losses of politically favored companies. Under this vision, the purpose of government is not to protect individual freedom, but to improve society however those in power decide it should be improved, to take from those it declares are undeserving, to give to those that it declares are deserving, or to put more succinctly, to take from each according to his abilities and to give to each according to his needs. That's what this is all about. Not more than 100 steps from where we debate right now, Thomas Jefferson reviewed the bountiful resources of the nation and asked, with all these blessings, what more is necessary to make us a happy and a prosperous people? Still one thing more, fellow citizens, a wise and frugal government, which shall restrain men from injuring one another, shall leave them otherwise free to regulate their own pursuits of industry and improvement, and shall not take from the mouth of labor the bread it has earned. This is the sum of good government. This is the path to prosperity put forth by the House Budget Committee. And let us be clear, the various Democratic plans, including the one before us now, fundamentally reject these principles and replace them with values alien and antithetical to those that build our nation. That is the question that our generation must decide in all of its forms, including the question put to us today by this substitute amendment. I yield back.
The gentleman yields back. The question is on the amendment offered by the gentleman from California, Mr. Honda. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. In the opinion of the chair, the noes have it. The amendment is not agreed to.
Recorded vote.
Pursuant to Clause 6 of Rule 18, further proceedings on the amendment offered by the gentleman from California will be postponed. Purpose of the gentleman from California seek recognition.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the committee do now rise.
The question is on the motion that the committee rise. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is adopted. Accordingly, the committee rises.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Speaker, the Committee of the Whole House on the State of the Union, having had under consideration House Concurrent Resolution 112, directs me to report that it has come to no resolution thereon.
The Chair of the Committee of the Whole House on the State of the Union reports that the committee has had under consideration House Concurrent Resolution 112 and has come to no resolution thereon. The question is on the motion that the committee rise. For what purpose does the gentleman from Kansas rise?
Mr. Chairman, I move that the House do now adjourn.
The question is on the motion to adjourn. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it. The motion is adopted. Accordingly, the House stands adjourned until 9 a.m. tomorrow.
The House worked on the